Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Senior News Editor at Retail Insider. Joining me today is Rena Kliot, who is broker and founder of Pulse International Realty. Thanks for joining us today, Rena.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's talk about retail. Over the last couple of years, obviously with the pandemic, lots of chatter about the future of brick and mortar retail, and with the obviously the acceleration of the e-commerce side of things. What are your thoughts about brick and mortar and its place in the future in the sector?
I think that we are definitely seeing the return of a brick and mortar presence. I think that it's actually important. People not only need social interaction again, but also interaction with product. So the consumer needs are evolving, and so retail is evolving. I feel very strongly that the brick and mortar presence is returning strong.
So do you think a lot of it is also a kind of pent up demand that over the years, over the last couple of years, there have been, depending on where you are in North America, there have been different restrictions in place and lockdowns in place, et cetera, that people just were aching to get back into a physical store.
Absolutely. People are just, aching to get back. We're aching to get back into real life, which is why I feel and interactions, as I mentioned. That's why I think that the changes that we're seeing, the evolution that we're seeing in the retail market and experiential retail is feeding that need that consumers have. People are aching to get out and have experiences. And so that experience driven that experience driver is what's bringing consumers back, personalized experiences, memorable in-store experiences, and they actually in turn really foster brand loyalty. People remember, the pop-ups that we see, the restaurants that are selling, merchandise in I'm seeing the return of a lot of restaurateurs requests. I actually had another one last night. I have a lot of restaurateur clients that are just looking to open more and more because people do want to go out and socialize and, and just live life again. And that goes right back into retail. I mean, you look at even Amazon has gone brick and mortar, with the Amazon Go
Yep.
stores. I think there are about 10 of them in New York, over 30, maybe 40 now around the nation. And so that's that hybrid of, yeah, come in, touch, feel. People need to feel that too. I mean,
Mhm.
there's something to be said for the convenience of online shopping, but how many times have we received something and the quality isn't necessarily up to par, or it doesn't fit right, and or something, and then you really can't speak with someone because you can't get a human being on the phone, so customer service is very, very important. And I think what we're seeing now with this sort of hybrid of automation and screens in stores where you get to have both. So it's frictionless and sort of reminiscent of that contactless shopping experience that we became very comfortable with and the curbside pickup, combined with someone knowledgeable to speak with. So there are a lot of changes taking place. I think that the people that are working in the stores are more knowledgeable. Some stores maybe have to decrease their staff, but increase the knowledge base of their staff so that we're getting a much more fulfilling experience. And it's faster because you get your answers. You can check inventory through a screen that's in the store. So the staff is now able to focus more on the real customer service and the engagement, as opposed to running to the back room, seeing if there's a size 9, so.
Yeah. So, what's your feel? We're 3 years into the pandemic. Actually next month, in less than a month, it'll be
Yep.
3 years. Do you think, from the retail's perspective and side of things, that we've we've moved on and we're back to normal, if you want to use that word?
I think we're back to normal with caveats, a lot of which I've, mentioned. I think that, yeah, life is going back to normal, but with a little twist, right? We find creative ways to increase revenue and evolving coming out of the pandemic in so many ways. I think human beings are just resilient. We're creative. It's our survival. It's all part of our survival instincts
Yeah.
that kick in, right? And we watch what's changing and really in tune with what the needs are and modifying the experiences to to feed into those necessities, what we're looking for. People want to get out. Retailers couldn't be happier. I
Yeah.
love seeing that these vacant storefronts are starting to fill up again, and in more creative ways. I'm even seeing the return of the boutique. I think the boutique experience is important. It's I think it's really important. You'll see even like international brands will have at least one storefront in key markets and key cities in order to create some brand awareness and to have that touch and feel point that people need to see. I think it's important to us.
Now, I know there was probably a pause in the past couple of years, but what are you finding in terms of international retailers, and are they looking to open new stores in North America?
Absolutely. I mean, yes, I think that if you want to be a global brand, you need to open a store in the US. I mean, can you name a successful international brand that doesn't have at least one location in the US? I mean, even if it's just one single storefront. I think the presence is necessary to validate their brand and to capitalize by opening in a store in such a major market. I think the US retail market, if I'm not mistaken, represents an opportunity of north of $4 trillion for retailers. I mean, that's nearly 10 times the size of the Canadian market. So that alone is encouraging. And I think the US is, culturally unique, highly diverse. And that's another huge draw for international retailers.
Yeah, and I take it that kind of historically, what happens is a lot of these retailers open in the U.S. markets and then they expand to Canada. Correct?
Correct. But I think that, having a presence in the US first is very important to have that global brand recognition. It's our market here in the US is easily 10 times larger than the Canadian market.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a very important foothold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is it, outside of the sheer numbers, of people in North America and also wealth, obviously, is there anything else that appeals to international retailers about the North American market?
Well, I think the diversity, the diversity of the US market. I think we're also starting to see, cities like New York that almost had this apocalyptic feel for a while. This holiday season, it was just packed with tourists again, which was so wonderful to see. Saks did this light show and closed off Fifth Avenue so that it was a pedestrian walkway, and there were just tons of tourists, and it was beautiful. I mean, and I think we saw in these major markets, in these major cities, there was an absolute uptick in all retail spending. So in November and December, the reports that I read of 2022. So I think that knowing, for international global brands, the recognition in the US market is still very important and vital for their overall brand recognition.
Yeah. Now, when you look at the current environment out there, we live in inflationary times with you know, cost of living, cost of a lot of things, quite high. What impact do you think that's having on the retail sector overall and into I guess, the rest of this year?
It's a tremendous impact on retail. They need to be very strategic. They have to tailor their marketing campaigns to capitalize on consumer concerns. They need to what I've noticed is obviously they were impacted by shipping delays and shipping costs, and containers, were quadrupled in price, I believe. So that certainly affected the retail industry, and the reliance on the global supply chain impacted retail prices, and in turn, affects us, and it eats into their margin. So I think how they've combated these hurdles really quite brilliantly. They strategically increase prices, but only on specific items, not across the board. And then simultaneously will offer these, strategic markdowns for limited time. So they create urgency, and are able to sustain volume and sales. And so they've had to really, work around this. What I've also noticed is this increase of flexible payment options. I don't know if you've seen this buy now, pay later
Yeah.
thing that's going on. From last I read, it was 35%, 33% of retailers are currently offering that buy now, pay later, but reports indicate that an additional 40% are looking to implement that as well. So that obviously it attracts younger buyers. But yeah, that's that flexible option, that payment option still keeps consumers coming back, buying the things they want or need or think they need.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, exactly. There's a fine line there, So and I think overall as a society, Gen Zs and millennials have had multiple recessions in their lifetime. So across the board, I would say that spending and saving habits have changed. So
Okay, then, wonderful. Anything else you wanted to mention, Rena, that you've noticed in the retail sector right now?
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Anything else I've noticed in the retail sector again?
Yeah. Any other trends that are of interest to you?
Well, I think I've mentioned a lot of it. I love the experience. I love experiential retail. I
Yeah.
love that there are, yeah, it actually makes it pleasant. I've never been a mall shopper, I admit. I'm not big on going to malls. I like the outdoor mall experiences because I'm not a shopper per se. I want to go to lunch, have a drink, and then sort of if I see something, and I want it or I need it, then I'll grab it. It makes it so much more enjoyable. Then there's always a story behind it. And I think that the way that these personalized experiences are now being cultivated and crafted, that there's a story behind every purchase. There is, and it creates this multi-tiered contribution to the economy because you're going out, you're eating, you're drinking, you're buying, you're shopping, you're going to a Van Gogh immersive art exhibit, and then you're in the gift shop afterwards buying all sorts of things because you want to remember that experience. I mean, so everything seems to be going that way, and I think it's lovely that the Louis, I don't know if you had a chance or if you were in New York, it's still actually going on, but the old Barney's, which was just an empty building, the landlord chose to give this limited lease to Louis Vuitton to come in and do a show. So artists had about their trunks. It was the anniversary of the Louis Vuitton trunk. And so they had all these artists and they were commissioned to do their version of the Louis trunk. And so it was this beautiful display and history. And then in the shop, they're selling gorgeous $9,000 bags and chess sets and board games and like all sorts of things with the brand recognition and coffee table books. So I just thought, wow, this is just brilliant. The whole thing is brilliant, and I'm actually proud of us as a society that we've been able to come out of this, pull people off of their couch, and back into the world. I think it's wonderful.
All right. Well, thanks, Rena, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. That was Rena Kliot, who is broker and founder of Pulse International Realty in the U.S. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, senior news editor with Retail Insider. Thanks for joining us today.